Greetings from the Garden of Eden. It is a chilly but sunny day, and we are blessed. I wanted to take this opportunity to give a little commentary, a little perspective on the Feeding the Homeless event we had on Saturday. It was an extreme success. People around the world are, in support, in gratitude for the event, tuning in on Facebook. Things of that nature. And number one, I'd like to say that yes, it was a success. We dished over 600 servings of extremely healthy food, extremely tasty food, and extremely sustainable food. And this is really important for me because we weren't just giving free food to people. We were giving them healthy food. We were giving them delicious food. And we were giving them sustainable food. And all three of those things are facets that homeless people don't normally get, and actually most people don't normally get. If you have a lot of money or you're extremely gifted, in the kitchen, you might eat delicious food. If you're extremely health conscious and you grow your own food, you might get healthy food and maybe sustainable food. But all three of those is actually a very rare experience. So here in the Garden of Eden, we are harvesting mass amounts of food, and we are feeding people this food. So it's very sustainable, it's very healthy, and we're alchemizing it into delicious dishes. And this event is important for those aspects, but it's even more important because of the nature of the event itself. Now in Dallas, they make it extremely difficult to feed people. You have to have permits, you have to have licenses, you have to follow all sorts of ridiculous procedures, you have to provide all sorts of ridiculous things. You can't just feed people. And this is a big problem because we have the right. We have the right. It is a natural right. It is a birthright to give, to support our fellow man, our fellow woman, our brothers and our sisters. In fact, it's a duty. It is our duty to support our community, our family, our brothers and our sisters. And to regulate that, to license that, it's an atrocity. And this atrocity is happening throughout the globe right now. People are having to have licenses to do almost everything. People are having to have, regulation and taxation to do almost everything. And this is a big problem because this is how the global elite, this is how the system is taking control. They're regulating everything, they're taxing everything, and they're licensing everything. So it requires money and it requires censorship. And that's control. So we went out to feed the people, and we didn't have any permits. We didn't have any licenses. And, we didn't follow any of those rules, except for the golden rule, which is do no harm, which is support your brothers and your sisters, your fellow man. We did that. Now, we teamed up with Murdoch and the Don't Comply organization, the Don't Comply group, which is a really important group. It's called Don't Comply, which means don't comply. Don't just comply. Just because there's a rule, it doesn't mean that you comply with it. Just because there's somebody with a gun, it doesn't mean you don't comply. What about honor? What about integrity? Right? What about standards? Right? And that's what we're living for here in the Garden of Eden is standards, is a standard of honor, a standard of conduct. Having food is not enough. We need to have healthy food. We need to have sustainable food. If it's not healthy food, you're poisoning yourself. And if it's not sustainable food, you're destroying the earth. And that's what's happening. 99% of the food that people are eating around the world is destroying the environment that is this earth. And the human habitat is being destroyed. So we need to claim our power, we need to be in our power, and we need to start living from this standard of honor, this standard of integrity. And Don't Comply is doing that in many ways, so we teamed up with them. And we teamed up with them to serve the people and to do it without permits. So we showed up there, and we from the Garden of Eden, we had fruit salad, a whole cooler full of fruit salad. We had chicken veggie melody, We had a ham and potato stew. The Don't Comply had the deer chili and a rabbit stew. So we had this, we had just this repertoire of like very, very high quality food. Even most restaurants aren't going to carry, pretty much no restaurants actually are going to carry food at this kind of a quality, at this kind of a standard. Obviously our food here is highly sustainable. Not only do we harvest it sustainably, but we also prepare it sustainably. We don't use disposables. We don't use, paper towels. We don't use any sorts of disposables. We don't use foil. We don't use any of that stuff. We don't even use, bleach and all those kinds of things. We make all of our own, cleansers and sanitizers. We're cooking on a wood-burning stove. We made all of that food on a wood-burning stove. We're not using electricity or propane. Highly sustainable, highly conscious, highly responsible. The deer chili that was made and the rabbit stew, that was hunted game. That was hunted game that these men took their time to go out and hunt this food from a wild environment, right? And whether you believe, and this is something important to touch on, whether you believe in eating animals or not, I totally respect and love those who don't eat animals, and I totally respect and love those who do eat animals. And to me, the real issue that we need to look at is not whether you eat animals or whether you don't. The real issue is honor. The real issue is integrity. Now, of course, you could say, oh, well, it's dishonorable to eat animals. Well, I disagree, because number one, there are many animals on this earth that eat animals. That's who they are. You don't judge a lion for eating a gazelle. You don't judge a snake for eating a rat. You don't judge a bird for eating a mouse, right? That's who they are. That's what their life is. So let's look at the honor. Let's look at the integrity. The real problem is with the food production system. And this problem exists whether you eat meat or whether you don't eat meat. If you buy your food from a grocery store, you are participating, you are voting for, you are paying for, you are supporting all of the worst things that are happening on this earth right now. All of the death, all the destruction that is happening. 1.5 acres of deforestation is happening every single second. Every single second, 1.5 acres of deforestation is taking place on this earth. That is happening because of the food you're buying at grocery stores. In South America, in Central America, in Asia, all over the world, there's mega corporations that are going in, they're clear-cutting whole forests, and they are planting soy crops. They are, raising cattle. Now, granted, it is much more destructive and devastating to eat an animal product, whether it's, meat or butter or cheese or milk, than it is to eat a vegetable product. It's, 20 times more taxing on the environment to have a meat product versus a vegetarian product. So, in that sense, you could very realistically say that it is much more dishonorable to eat meat than it is to not eat meat. But, again, it's not actually the case. The case is, the specific relative truth of that specific reality. So in this specific reality, this meat was, hunted by a man wild, right? Which means that there was no clear cutting, there was no megacorp, there was no grocery store, there was no tax, there was no processing, there was no packaging. It was very, very sustainable, extremely honorable. And that's a real solution. And it's actually a much greater solution than going and buying your banana from South America at Whole Foods. Okay, that's not sustainable. It's not honorable. Does that mean you're a bad person? No, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means that it's not sustainable and it's not an honorable choice. Is it the choice that almost everybody has available to them? Yes. But that's because of complacency. We can all begin to, in our own way, support these realities. So what that means is that you either, one, must begin to grow your own food, or two, you must begin to get your food from somebody who does grow it themselves. As long as you're getting food from a grocery store, you're supporting the unsustainable death and destruction of the environment of this world. The plastic in the ocean, almost all food that you get, it comes in plastic. All food that you get, it's being shipped on trucks with petroleum. It's all a petroleum plastic industry. It's all a petroleum plastic industry, and every bit of food that's at a grocery store, it's grown and it's owned by a megacorp, and all the profits go to the megacorps. And the megacorps have only one goal, and that's profit. And that comes at the compromise, at the sacrifice of everything else. So, there's a lot that's going on in this one simple event. And in that sense, it's not a simple event. It's an extremely powerful and profound event. The other facet that I wanted to talk about is the rifles. A lot of people are mentioning the rifles. Why are there rifles? Or, I don't like guns, or blah, blah, blah. Again, in a peaceful world, obviously, there's very little need for guns. And ideally, we have a peaceful life. Ideally, we live in a peaceful world. But the truth is that the world that we live in now is far from that reality. And the other truth is that it is our birthright to arm ourselves, to protect our families. In fact, it's not just our right, it's our duty. It is our duty to protect our families. It's our duty to protect ourselves. And it's not somebody else's responsibility to do that. Then that's part of the dependency that we're in right now. In the United States of America, we have a government that has a military that is so vast and so huge that 1 year's budget of the United States military could feed every single person on Earth for a year. Okay, so instead of having all of that money go to people feeding the whole world, that money is going to bombs and destruction, right? There is no police force, there is no government military that's ever been designed that is more effective than an individual, a family, a community, a nation arming themselves to protect themselves. Not only does it work better, but it's more sustainable and it's more efficient. The United States militia, the Second Amendment rights, it is controversial, and I can see where the controversy comes in there. But here's the fact: is that just because you have a gun, it doesn't mean you have to use it, and just because you have a gun, it doesn't mean that you're going to use it dishonorably, and just because you have a gun doesn't mean that you can't be loving or be loved. So what's really important here is that we find a way to agree to disagree. I myself own no guns. The Garden of Eden has no guns. We don't feel a need for them. But that doesn't mean that we're going to ostracize somebody that does have guns. That doesn't mean that we're going to judge somebody that does. In fact, I am going to say thank you for having a gun. Thank you for protecting your family. Thank you for hunting your own food. Thank you for taking these guns. And this is the reason why all the guns were at the event, because don't comply is about don't comply. And in the United States right now, the powers that be are very purposefully, very deliberately, very diabolically making moves to take away the Second Amendment rights, the right to bear arms. And they're doing this through taxation, they're doing this through regulation, they're doing this through licensing. And over time, if you look at where we're at right now, you could say, well, we still have the right to carry guns, but compared to the way it was 200 years ago, it's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. The licensing, the taxation, the regulation that exists now is way more control over our right to bear arms than it was 200 years ago. And that's the case with every facet of our life. Every facet of our life here in the United States of America is less free than it used to be. It's more taxed, it's more regulated, it's more controlled. So don't comply is all about, don't comply, stop complying. And one of the key things that we need to not comply with is the taxation, the regulation, the control, the licensing of our arms. And whether you bear arms or not, this is really important that you support this, because if you don't, what happens is that the government has a monopoly on weapons. Okay? And if you were to do your research, if you were to start studying, you would find a lot of similarities to where this country is right now compared to where Germany was right before World War II. If you look at the Communist Manifesto, there's 10 key facets that must be secured for the Communist Manifesto to be secure. And in the United States right now, 9 of 10 of those key critical points are already locked in, are already successful, and the only one is gun control. It is because the right to bear arms that the powers that be do not have full and total control, because once there are no guns in the masses, in the common man and woman, then the ones with guns can essentially do whatever they want. So let's support freedom. Let's support each other. Rather than nitpicking each other, about this or this, oh, well, you eat meat, so I hate you, or, well, you have guns, so I hate you, or you don't have guns, so you're a fucking pussy pansy, right? Let's just, let's agree to disagree on certain things. Let's focus on the things that are really important, which is that we're all alive, we all breathe air, we all eat food, we all sleep, we all want shelter. Let's make sure that we all have that. Because we can. There's way more than enough of everything. The United States military budget is enough to feed the entire population of the entire world for a whole year, right? The only reason the United States military budget exists is because we keep paying it. We keep paying it. We keep paying it. It's your money. Every single time you pay taxes, every single time you buy gas, every single time you buy something at a store, you are buying the bombs that are dropping in Afghanistan right now. So the real solution is in me, is in you. We are the power. And where we put our energy is what thrives. What we attend to thrives. So let's attend to freedom. Let's attend to caring for each other, supporting each other, helping each other. Let's attend to health. Let's attend to sustainability. Sustainability is essential because, number one, our lives are more abundant. When you integrate a truly sustainable system, every day is more abundant than the day before. Not only that, but the environment of the earth, rather than being depleted and being destroyed, is actually upheld, is actually supported. So sustainability is a really key facet of the future. We have everything that we need. It's all available, all the technology, all the knowledge, all the materials, all the resources. We just have to start beginning to choose that. So this little event was a great event because the Garden of Eden, Don't Comply, we came together. We live different lives, we have different focuses, but we're coming together for common purpose. And in that common purpose, we succeeded. We bared arms, and I was bearing arms too, because in my own way. I didn't carry a rifle, but I was there supporting those that did. And instead of fighting each other, we were loving each other, we were supporting each other. And in that, we were successful. We fed people for free, we fed people in love. Everybody there was grateful for it. Everybody there agreed with what we were doing, and the police did come. And this is a really important part too. The police come, but we didn't have a fight. We didn't fight. And this is a really important part, because as long as you fight, there's always another fight. So let's start embracing even harmony with the opposition. Right? Just because the city has all sorts of laws and rules and statutes and codes that try to keep our freedoms down, doesn't mean we have to fight that. Let's just stand in our power. Let's just stand in our power. So the police did come, and they checked out what was going on, and we very consciously, very responsibly, very calmly engaged them and met them and made them feel like there was nothing that there was no problem, and that they didn't need to pull out their guns, that they didn't need to pull out their handcuffs, that they didn't need to pull out their ticket book, right? And that's really what we want. We don't want to go to jail. We don't want to have tickets and citations. We don't want to get in altercations. I mean, maybe some people do. Maybe that is what you want. But if that is what you want, go get together with a group of people that want to fight each other. And get in a field and fight each other, and just fight each other and fight each other. If that's what you want to do, that's totally fine. I respect that and I love that. But from my perspective, we're not going to have success of freedom with fighting. It's just going to lead to more fighting. And that's part of what the new paradigm is actually living freedom rather than fighting for freedom. Actually being in freedom rather than wanting freedom. Let's live free. And when we live free, we will be free. So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for supporting what we do. Thank you for your likes on Facebook. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for being you. Thank you for being you. I would not exist without you. We would not exist without each other. Bless.
Woo!